Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Huddle Hub podcast. My name is Metal Mike. Today, we are going to talk about all the news going through the world of football. You know, I will say this. Thursday afternoon, as a matter of fact, when the news came out of a certain player signing with a certain team, I was like, I see it coming. Last week, if you watched the show last week, I said that this player probably won't be showing up until July. Yeah, I said that. And we're going to get into talking about this player in just a moment. But I got to ask you guys real quick to head over to all the social medias for the Huddle Hub Podcast, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Make sure you're hitting that follow button on X and TikTok, and make sure you're hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. And if you're watching here on the Twitch channel, please make sure you're hitting that follow button. All the links to all the social medias are below. If you scroll up a little bit, not down, scroll up, because if you go up, it goes down. You know, it's the way the internet works, obviously. You're going to click on the links. You'll see the links right there for all the social medias. Click, follow on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button. Would definitely appreciate you can check out all the past episodes of the Huddle Hub Podcast over on the YouTube channel as they are posted weekly. And if you go back to last week's episode, I talked about this certain player. We're going to get into it right away, okay? The news of professional football, and that is Aaron Rodgers has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is a 1 year worth $13.65 million contract. $10 million of that contract is guaranteed, and it could be worth up to $19.5 million by the end of the year with the incentives that are going to be included. The incentives have not come out yet. We're not sure what the incentives are. But there are some incentives into that contract as far as we're concerned. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, I said it last week that I think that he's going to be there by July. I think he already signed with Pittsburgh and that he wasn't going to show up until July. That's what I said last week. Fast forward to Thursday, literally 5 days after I said that, we get the announcement that he was going to be flying out to Pittsburgh on Friday to sign his contract. And I know there's some Steeler fans out there that aren't happy about this, that are like, why are we doing this? Why are we signing a player who's been playing for 21 years? He only has one Super Bowl under his belt. He has 4 league MVPs, so that's got to tell you something. And, why are we doing this? Why are we... Some Steelers fans feel like they're moving backwards. They do. Some Steelers fans feel like this team is moving backwards with signing Rodgers. And some fans are saying that they should have rolled with Mason Rudolph this season. Now, you guys who have watched the episodes where we do the predictions and everything like that, we did the 2.01 2 weeks ago. And Pittsburgh, as being predicted right now, isn't having a winning season under the Mason Rudolph. Under Mason Rudolph's quarterback. I was going to say something else and I kind of stopped. But Mason Rudolph, there's huge questions about whether he's a reliable starting quarterback. There is a lot of question. Has he been a starter before? Yeah, he has. And the time that Kenny Pickett was in Pittsburgh and Mason Rudolph helped push the Steelers towards the playoffs, was that a little bit of a shining light for Pittsburgh at that time? Yes. But you were going into a brand new season. Your record is 0-0. It's not, 9-7 to where you have to go out and win a game in order to clinch the playoffs. You're not in an 8-8 situation to where you need to win and you need 3 other teams to lose in order to make the playoffs, and Mason Rudolph is the reliable source of getting you there. You are 0-0. We haven't kicked off yet. It is a brand new season. So, and Mason Rudolph, has he been a starter before? Yeah, he has. But if you go look at the statistics of when he was first a starter, if I was a Steelers fan, would I be excited about it? No, I wouldn't. Since 2019, Mason Rudolph, okay? 2019, 1,765 yards, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, had an 82 rating for the Steelers. In 2020, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 87.7. Now, yeah, the number went up on the rating, but that's because he didn't have many passes. There wasn't much playing time there. I mean, come on. 324 yards, come on. 2021, 277 yards, 1-1, 70.8. 2023, 719, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 118. And then when he went to the Titans in 24, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 1,530 yards, 80.1 rating, and that's when he was a starter. So would Mason Rudolph be a reliable source for the Pittsburgh Steelers to start this season? I think not. Now, there's Steeler fans out there that aren't very happy about the Aaron Rodgers signing. And I will say this. Yes, Aaron Rodgers has come off that huge injury from 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Okay? 2 years ago. Recovered from the injury last year. And yeah, his season wasn't the best last year, but it wasn't bad. Especially the back half of the year. The last 4 or 5 games, not bad. Last season, Aaron Rodgers, 3,897 yards. He almost got to 4,000. 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And that was with a 5-12 Jets team. A Jets team to where the offensive line, not good. Your wide receiving core, their wide receiving core was pretty attractive. Can't take that away from them with Wilson he had Lazard at the time, and not a bad receiving core, tight end core, not bad. Running back position, a little questionable. But then the defense was just rocky. But it all fell on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers because the Jets weren't playing up to the potential that they should have been. The Jets were even deemed as a Super Bowl contender last year because of Rodgers coming back. Now, I tell people all the time that, and there's a lot of people that don't like Aaron Rodgers because they think that he's a narcissist and all these different things. And I will say this. Before I watched the documentary on Netflix, I thought he was a pretty selfish person, a self-absorbed person as well. After watching the documentary, did my mind change a little bit? Yes. Do I still have my opinion on some things? I do. But that's just my opinion. Because I don't know Aaron Rodgers personally. So to state claims on the type of person that he is, I really can't do that. But the documentary definitely changed my opinion a little bit. I will say this. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, be happy. Be happy that you, at least for 1 year, have a quarterback who's going to come in and put the work in. You have a 4-time league MVP, Super Bowl winning. Yeah, it was Super Bowl 45. Who cares? It's a Super Bowl championship that he won. Mind you, against the team that he's going to. And I guarantee you that's where him and Mike Tomlin's relationship started nearly 15 years ago. Guarantee that's where that relationship all started. Met during the whole week of the Super Bowl, and then finally game time came, and then the end of the game, they shook hands, hugged each other, keep in contact, all that. And now we're here. And he's in Pittsburgh. So I would have a little bit of more of an open mind, Pittsburgh. I would have a little bit of more open mind as a fan about this because of the relationship that these two men have built over the years, personally and professionally, because you can kind of say that it's a professional relationship to the fact that they've talked football. And how many times they may have worked together on things outside of football. Because they've had to have, met up at some point between now and 15 years ago. The relationship that was built. And then the relationship that he built with these players before coming through the building. Now, yeah, you go back a couple weeks ago and you have players saying, like, if you want to be a Steeler, then you should be here. He had personal things to take care of. And he didn't want to bring any of that stuff to camp and put a burden on the team. Took care of what he needed to, and then he came. If I was a Steelers fan, I would look at that as, that's pretty noble of him. Take care of your personal stuff. Don't bring any of that, past our doors. Yeah, it's going to happen throughout the year. You're going to have players bringing personal stuff to the building because they have to deal with things and all that stuff. You're going to have that. But he wants to come in with a clean slate of things, a clear head. You got to kind of think it's kind of respectable. So he took care of what he needed to take care of. And he called him up and said, hey, I'll see you Friday. And there we are. Aaron Rodgers, 1 year, $13.65 million with $10 million guaranteed, and it could turn into a $19.5 million contract after the possibilities of the incentives. I'm going to see if we can find the incentives because I would really like to know what he's got to accomplish to earn the $19 million. And as of right now, because I have some reliable sources that I look to and that I look towards to getting this information, and they have absolutely nothing posted at the moment. So as far as the contract and as far as the incentives are concerned, we'll have to find out throughout the next couple weeks. And I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will find out. What the incentives are when it comes to Aaron Rodgers' contract. I'm looking into other sources as well. He will wear the number 8. His number was revealed yesterday. So he will wear the number 8. Now, as we know, in Green Bay, he was number 12. When he came to the Jets, he was number 8. And now he's going to wear the number 8 for the Steelers. So, yep, nothing as far as the incentives for this contract. Again, I'm sure we'll find out as the days go on. And that we will find out what's added into this contract. But as of right now, he's $10 million guaranteed. And as he said on the Pat McAfee show, he'll play for a year and $10 million. There it is. A year and $10 million. And he'll come to Pittsburgh and play. And he did it. So, Steelers fans, I would keep an open mind. Because there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers may come in and give the Steelers a run for their, not a run for the money, but, a run for the playoffs. And, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I'm still trying to figure this out. I am. I'm still trying to see if I can find I'm going to sit here all day and try and do this and try and find see if I can find a here we go. This is what I wanted to look into. Okay, so he wants to wear number 8. Corliss Waitman was wearing the number 8 until Rodgers came in. So Aaron Rodgers is 1 year, $13.65 million contract. So he's going to address the media on Tuesday at minicamp because he will be at the minicamps. Okay, so here we go. So I did find something here. So Aaron Rodgers was in the team training facilities on Friday. He signed his 1 year contract, $13.65 million. That includes $10 million guaranteed and has a maximum value of $19.5 million. The deal includes $5.85 million worth of playtime and team performance incentives. So playtime is in there. So, for example, he's got to play at least 7 games to earn, $1.5 million. He's got to play 12 games to earn another 1.5. And then he's got to play all 17 to earn the extra 5.8 or something. But then there's other incentives like make the playoffs, how many touchdown passes he's going to throw, his completion percentage, the interceptions that he doesn't throw. For example, hey, you can't throw more than 6 interceptions in the first 10 games. And he earns the incentive. We all know how the incentives work. We all know how an incentive works. So there's incentives there. So, but let's close out with this. We're going to move forward. Again, Pittsburgh fans, Steelers fans, I would leave an open mind on this. I would be, You don't have to be excited about it. But I would keep an open mind to the fact of Aaron Rodgers being in Pittsburgh. I would keep an open mind that there's a possibility that he can lead you places further than you think that the Steelers are going to do. Because as of right now, I'll say this. When I did my predictions, I don't have the Steelers in a winning season. I don't. I believe I don't even have them winning 5 games. Does that change now? Maybe. Maybe. But week 1, the Steelers and Jets. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Justin Fields, who used to play in Pittsburgh last year, and Aaron Rodgers, who played in New York last year. That is going to be a fun matchup. Fun. Keep an open mind, Steelers fans. That's all I got to say. We're going to move forward with the news. We are also going to announce 3 games that we're going to do watch-alongs for this year, okay? Now, I'm not going to I am still working on the rest of the watch-along schedule for this year, but I'm going to announce 3 games that we are going to be doing a watch-along here on the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel for this season, okay? I have 3 games that we are going to be doing the watch-along for, and we will get into that before we close things out today. But Ronald Darby, cornerback who had a very lengthy career in the NFL after 10 seasons, has announced his retirement. So Ronald Darby, he has announced his retirement. Ronald Darby, his biggest accomplishment in the NFL, obviously, in 2017-2018 season, winning the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ronald Darby played for the Bills from 2015 to 2017. He was with the Eagles from 2017 to 2019. And then he played for the Commanders in 2020, played for the Broncos in 2021 through 2023. And then he was with the Ravens in 23 and the Jaguars in 24. So that was Ronald Darby's career. To close things out on his career, he had 447 combined tackles, 66 assisted. So 447 minus 66, that's how many solo tackles he had. 0 sacks, 8 interceptions, 135 yards gained in his career. He has not returned an interception for a touchdown his whole career. But that is Ronald Darby. He has announced his retirement from football. So wish him the best of luck in his retirement, and I hope he has a happy and healthy one. That's the same for Frank Ragnow, the center from the Lions. He announced his retirement after 7 seasons. He made it to 4 Pro Bowls as a center. So Frank Ragnow, after 7 seasons from the Lions, has announced his retirement as well. Again, best wishes and a happy retirement to him, and hope all is well. We did get an announcement yesterday for retirement. Wide receiver Chris Conley from the 49ers, after 10 seasons, has announced his retirement. Some people were saying yesterday that this was kind of a shock that Chris Conley was retiring. Because, with how the 49ers are building themselves up right now and trying to get to where they want to be, people were saying that this was kind of a shock that he retired. But he's also a 32-year-old wide receiver. And his contributions to the team, it was there, But we're going to look at his statistics through his career. That's what I'm trying to bring up. This is what happens when you're live. You're trying to keep caught up on everything that you need. So Chris Conley, he played for the Chiefs from 2015 to 2018. He was in Jacksonville with the Jaguars from 2019 to 2020. He was with the Texans from 2021 to 2022. Then he was a Tennessee Titan in 2022, and then he went out to San Francisco to close out his career in 2023. 132 games played, 226 receptions, had 2,998 yards, 13.3 average yards per catch. His longest catch was a 70-yard pass, 15 touchdowns on his career. So, and then they have the yardage breakdown here, but we're not going to do that. But Chris Conley has announced his retirement from the NFL. So best wishes to him and his retirement. Hope he has a happy and healthy one. Chris Hogan, wide receiver from the Patriots. He's retired. Okay. He did an interview yesterday. I caught this interview yesterday. I don't know when the interview was specifically done, but he said that he feels like he can come back to football. Said that he feels like he can make an NFL comeback, but playing in a different position. So Chris Hogan, who I believe retired not too long ago. It hasn't been that long since Chris Hogan has retired. Because I'm looking at his retirement right now. And he retired back in 2021 with the Saints. So he's not that far removed from football. 4 years. But he's 37 years old and feels like he can come back and play, but at a different position. Now, if his statistics are right now, 6'1", 210 pounds, if that's where he's at right now in life, maybe tight end. I wouldn't put him as a running back, either tight end or a defensive back, a safety. That's where I'd put him if he came back. But also the question lies is, would any team be interested in a 37-year-old retired wide receiver? That's the question. And I mean, you have Tom Brady, who played until he was, 46 years old? Aaron Rodgers just turned 41. So there's players that are playing well past 40 years old. He's only 37. So could he possibly still play? Who knows? The question would lie is what team would sign him? I mean, because when you look at the list of teams he was a part of, the 49ers and the Giants, 49ers, Giants, and Dolphins back in 2011, partially with the Dolphins in 2012. Then he went out to Buffalo and was there until 2015. Then he was with the Patriots from 2016 to 2018. He was with the Panthers in 2019, the Jets in 2020, and the Saints in 2021. So the question would lie is what team would want to sign him at 37 years old and want to change positions? I guess that's what we would have to find out. But he wants to make a comeback. Teron Armstead, the offensive tackle from the Dolphins, he was placed on reserved/retirement list. Now, Teron Armstead, reserve/retirement list, meaning it's up in the air. Is he going to retire, or is he going to wait this year and see how things go and possibly play next year? Who knows? He's 33 years old. He's been in the league for quite a while. So the good thing is he wasn't a journeyman. Teron Armstead, he was with the Saints from 2013 to 2021, and then he went out to Miami in 2022, and he's been there since. So he turns 34 years old in July. So it is yet to be announced whether he's fully retiring or not, but Teron Armstead may be retiring, but he was put on the retirement list. Jackson Dart, quarterback of the Giants, he signed his rookie contract this week, 4 years worth $16.9 million and an $8.9 million signing bonus. Huge contract for Jackson Dart as a rookie. This is a huge contract. Huge. The Giants are definitely invested in Jackson Dart. And this is big. This is a big contract, too, for a rookie. Big contract. Now, back during the draft shows, I said it. You heard it come out of my mouth. I said the Giants had the best draft. You look at how they drafted, and they did well. Abdul Carter and hopping back into that first round and grabbing Jackson Dart. Great draft for the Giants. And I said, now it's time to put it on the field, and they've got to do that. I think the Giants are honestly at least another year away from getting themselves back into a playoff talk. Jackson Dart's a rookie. He's got to go out and he's got to work with his players. Not only that, and I always have a grading system when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. I don't rate a rookie quarterback until they're in their fourth season. Because then by then, they have played every team in the NFL, some of them many times already over, like in their division. So you get a good handle on how they're going to do in division play. And then you can rate them. So if you ask me my rating on Jackson Dart, I couldn't give you one. I haven't watched him play in the NFL yet. So when I seen this contract the other day, I was like, man, this is a pretty significant contract. The Giants are really hanging their hats on this kid. So congratulations, Jackson Dart, on the contract, number one. Number two, good luck in New York. And I mean that sincerely. I don't mean that as, oh, I'm an Eagles fan. Good luck out there. I'm not meaning it that way. I mean it as good luck out there. I really hope that you do well, stay healthy, and hopefully you're their answer. And Jackson Dart's a hell of a player, so he could be the answer for the Giants. The last time that a quarterback got drafted out of Ole Miss, look what happened. And I mean that in a good way, too, because it was Eli Manning. Eli Manning brought the Giants 2 Super Bowls, by the way, if you didn't know that. That's why I'm saying I hope that he can go in there and make a difference for this team. So all positive. I meant nothing negative by that. Dillon Gabriel, quarterback of the Browns. Remember him? Got drafted in the 3rd round in Cleveland this year. He signed his rookie contract, 4 years worth $6.22 million. Yeah. Another good contract for a 3rd round draft pick. Oh, and by the way, because I wrote this note past the Dillon Gabriel notes, which I obviously was taking these notes at 3 o'clock in the morning when I seen this. But Eli Manning told Jackson Dart that he's a phone call away if he ever needed advice. So there you go. But now back on Dillon Gabriel. Pretty good contract for a 3rd round draft pick. 4 years, $6.22 million. That's pretty good contract for a 3rd round draft pick in the position that he was put in. Last but not least in the news, and this is a sad one, Jim Marshall, retired defensive lineman from the Vikings, had passed away at the age of 70. Oh my gosh. Let me restart this in respect to him. Jim Marshall, who is a retired defensive lineman from the Minnesota Vikings, had passed away this past week at the age of 87 years old. Some of the accomplishments for Jim Marshall: he was an all-time NFL Ironman, and he also had played in 270 consecutive NFL games. Now, as we know, when it comes to a non-quarterback position, Jim Marshall, I believe, is second all-time. I could be mistaken on that. He's either first or second all-time in consecutive games played, where Brett Favre is the all-time leader in games played. But Jim Marshall, right there behind Brett Favre. Our thoughts and our hearts go out to Jim Marshall's family. Sad news, but it's always sad to lose somebody, not only in whether it's a sport that you love, if it's somebody that you are a fan of, but it's just, it's sad. So our condolences go out to the Marshall family in this grieving time for the passing of Jim Marshall, retired defensive lineman from the Vikings at 87 years old. Definitely put some contributions to the game of football with being an all-time NFL Ironman and 270 consecutive games as a defensive lineman. That is crazy. Crazy because of how, defensive linemen, when you watch football, you know that they are very, very middle contact. Like that, I played defensive line when I played football, and it is not for... You don't like contact, don't play defensive line. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. You don't like contact, don't play on the defensive line. Play cornerback or safety or kicker if you don't like contact. We're going to take about a 30 to 45 second break here on the Huddle Hub podcast. Please stick around. We have a fun segment. I did a March Madness type of tournament thing. March Madness type of tournament thing. Yeah. We're going to break it down for you guys. So we'll be back in about 45 seconds here on the Huddle Hub podcast. Please stay tuned. So please make sure you're heading over to X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Make sure you're hitting the follow button on the X and the TikTok. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button on the YouTube. On the YouTube, you can check out exclusive content that is going to be created. I have some plans for you that I'm coming up with, that stuff that I'm going to be creating for you guys that I'm going to be posting. You can also catch past episodes, full episodes of the Huddle Hub podcast over on the YouTube channel. Just make sure you hit that bell that says subscribe. Turn those notifications on, and every Tuesday or Wednesday, I post the new episode that you miss here on Sundays. Or if you want to rewatch episodes, you may gladly go there, click on it, and check it out. Every view counts, and it would definitely be appreciated as well. Even if you click on it and make it as your background noise while you're at work or while you're at home, cooking dinner or whatever, hanging out with the pets, the family, and you would just listen to some football talk, it would definitely be appreciated if you head over there. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube, the follow on the X, and the TikTok. And make sure you're hitting the follow button here on Twitch as well. It would definitely be appreciated. If you need the links to the other social medias, it is on the bottom here on the Huddle Hub podcast profile here on Twitch. So, yep. Taking a sip of my iced tea. I'm sorry. But I did a March Madness style type of tournament thing. Okay. Now, this is actually, the funny thing is if you know me, you know I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of video recorded podcasts, and there's a group that I watch that did something similar like this. And I was like, this would be fun to do. And especially with the current standpoints of how teams are standing. But I did this in a small, different type of way. How I did this was, okay, and I'm going to try and show you guys this without showing you the results, okay? So I'm going to kind of fold this up here. And when you look at it, how I have the rankings is, from best, number 1, the Eagles, number 16, the Giants, because the Giants finished in last place in the NFC. Number 1 was the Lions, number 16 is the Giants, number 2 is the Eagles. The Saints finished second to last. So that's how I did it. I did it by the rankings of their records and the matchups that happened. And then you look at the current state that the teams are in, and, you go and do it that way on who you think would win. So this is how this went on the NFC side of things. The number 1 team was the Lions. The number 16 team was the Giants. I got the Lions winning. The number 2 team was the Eagles. 15 was the Saints. Obviously, the Eagles winning. So second round matchup would be the Lions and the Eagles. I always say that I think the Lions are missing something to get over humps, and I think the Eagles are a more complete team. So I got the Eagles winning to head out to the semifinals of the NFC side of things. Number 3 taking on number 14, the Vikings at 3, the Panthers at 14. I got a surprise win for the Panthers. And I think the Panthers right now look a little better than the Vikings when it sits right now. So the Panthers I got moving on. At number 4, the Commanders against the number 13 Bears. I got the Bears surprisingly beating the Commanders. I do, because we don't know how the Commanders are going to be this year. Last year's team is not this year's team. And I've been saying that for a very long time now. Most of their guys were on one-year contracts. Did they bring some guys back? Yeah, they did. But not everybody that was on last year's team is on this year's team. The Bears went out and bettered themselves on the offensive line. They went out and got themselves some position players. I think the Bears would beat the Commanders. So we got the Panthers and the Bears in a second-round matchup. I got the Panthers then beating the Bears. So in the semifinals, it would be the Eagles against the Panthers. On the bottom part of the bracket, the number 5 Packers taking on the number 12 49ers. I got the Packers beating the 49ers because the 49ers right now, they went out and they had to better themselves. You know, they let go of some guys in free agency, you know, kind of traded players away, all that stuff. They made moves, and then they went out in the draft and they drafted a bunch of defensive players. They just got Bryce Huff in a trade with the Eagles last week. I think the Packers would beat the 49ers. I do. So I got the Packers moving on. The number 6 Buccaneers against the number 11 Cowboys. I got the Buccaneers. The Cowboys, I don't feel like did anything to make themselves better. So then we would have the Packers taking on the Bucs. And in a surprise win, I got the Packers beating the Bucs. And then the number 7 Rams taking on the number 10 Falcons. I got the Rams winning that one. The number 8 Seahawks against the number 9 Cardinals. I got the Cardinals winning that one. Rams against the Cardinals. I got the Cardinals upsetting the Rams, which would set up for a Packers against the Cardinals. Now, on the upper part of the bracket, I got the Eagles and Panthers. I got the Eagles beating the Panthers. Panthers have like this little Cinderella run. Eagles win. The Cinderella run ends there. And then the Packers against the Cardinals, I would have the Packers beating the Cardinals, setting up on the NFC side of things, the finals of the Eagles beating the Packers. So the Eagles would be in the championship. Now, on the AFC side of things, the number 1 Chiefs against the number 16 Titans, got the Chiefs winning. The number 2 Bills against the number 15 Browns, I got the Bills winning, setting up a matchup between the Chiefs and the Bills. And the Bills, I think they're a stronger team than the Chiefs. I got the Bills winning. The number 3 Ravens against the number 14 Patriots, got the Ravens winning. The number 4 Chargers against the number 13 Raiders, I got the Chargers winning, setting up a matchup between the Ravens and the Chargers, the Harbaugh Bowl. Say it 5 times fast for me. I would have the Chargers beating the Ravens, setting up a Bills-Chargers semifinals match to where the Bills would beat the Chargers, sending the Bills to the finals. Now, on the bottom part of the bracket, the number 5 Broncos taking on the number 12 Jaguars. I got the Broncos winning. The number 6 Steelers against the number 11 Jets. I got the Jets winning. Now, I did this before Aaron Rodgers signed. I did this literally last Sunday. So I'm keeping the thing, though. The Jets win. The number 7 Texans against the number 10 Dolphins. I got the Texans winning. And the number 8 Bengals against the number 9 Colts. I got the Bengals winning. So Broncos and the Jets. I got the Jets upsetting the Broncos. I got the Texans beating the Bengals, setting up a Jets-Texans matchup. And then in yet another upset, the Jets upset the Texans, which would set up an AFC final in the AFC East, the Bills and Jets, and then the Cinderella run of the Jets ends to where we get the Eagles and Bills in the championship game. Now lies the fact of who wins. And you look at the rosters and you look who's more complete. And last week we talked about who was the most complete team right now in the NFL. And the Eagles are definitely number 1. Therefore, I have the Eagles winning my March Madness style of a playoff. And that would be that. Now, if you checked out the prediction show last week, I had the Bills defeating the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. So I decided we're going to do a March Madness tournament style thing this week. And I did it. But I got the Eagles beating the Bills in this as the most complete team. But that's that. Fun little thing. We're going to take another 30-second break. We got about 15 minutes left or so on the Huddle Hub podcast today. Short episode, not a long one. Didn't have a lot to really go through, but jam-packed nonetheless. When we come back in about 60 seconds, we are going to announce the first 3 games that are going to be a part of the watch-along list this year on the Huddle Hub podcast. So please stay tuned. And while you're waiting, head over to the other socials and hit that follow button. So please make sure you're heading over to X, YouTube, and TikTok at the Huddle Pod. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. And on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button. And make sure you're hitting the follow button right here on Twitch. All the links are below for all the social medias for the Huddle Podcast. You can click on those. It will take you right to the social media platforms that you can hit the follow button on. It would definitely be appreciated as we are building the channel here for the Huddle Hub Podcast going into the 2025 NFL season. Me and John have been doing this show for almost 3 years now. Beforehand. So a little bit of history on the Huddle Hub podcast. I want to give you guys a little bit of a history before we get into the first 3 games that I'm going to announce for the watch along list for this year. Now, more games are going to be announced as the weeks go on, but I do have the first 3 games already decided for the watch along list here on the Huddle Hub podcast Twitch channel. But a little bit of a history thing as far as how we got here with the Huddle Hub podcast. Back in 2017, 2018, me and John did a little show called East vs. West over on Facebook. We used to go live every Friday afternoon where we would make our picks. We would talk about last week's games. So how we did it was we talked about last week's games. We would talk about the standings, and then we would make our picks for that week coming up. It was about an hour and a half long, depending on how deep we got into talking about games and everything like that. We didn't really get into the news or anything like that like we do today. It was just basically a pick show. That's what it was. It was a pick show. I believe John may still have some of that stuff available on his YouTube channel. I would have to find out from him. And then get back to you guys on whether he does. If you want to go back and check out past episodes, maybe I can find some on my Facebook page and, post them on the Huddle Podcast. You guys can check out like a little bit of a history thing on what we used to do. Check out John right now, Candyman JH on Twitch and YouTube. That's where you can see John as he is away right now on a little bit of a personal sabbatical, taking care of some personal things. He will be back. Closer to kickoff for the college football season in August. But if you want to check out some of his stuff, go to Candyman JH on Twitch and YouTube and check him out. He does go live for Dead by Daylight. He does a couple other lives for like WWE 2K and stuff like that. So check out what John's doing on Twitch and YouTube. You're definitely going to love his content. Make sure you're hitting the follow button for him as well. But I'll have to see if I can find some stuff, and I'll post it on the YouTube channel as like a history thing or something for the Huddle Hub podcast on how we got to where we're at today. But yeah, it used to be a pick show, and that's what it was. It was just a pick show that we did on Facebook Live. A couple people would watch. It was awesome. We would have interaction, everything like that. I used to go live on something called Meet Me and Scout, so I would go live on there as well. Yeah, why would you go live on a dating site, Mike? Well, because I had people that I talked to on there as well. And that was in the early days of going and live streaming. So, every place pretty much counted to try and snag people to watch you. So I did go live on there, and we had some interaction there as well, which was pretty freaking surprising, but it happened. There was interaction there. And then when the pandemic hit, we had to stop East First West because obviously you had to kind of try and stay away from people. And even though me and him have been best friends for over 20 years, we still kind of, respected each other's families and everything like that and didn't want to get each other sick. So East First West kind of, fell off. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, because in July it will be 2 years that I've been part of Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media. Immediately after joining, probably it was, I think, like the same day actually that I joined Rivet City Radio, that I brought the attention of me and John doing the football show. And that's where Rivet City Red Zone was born. And Rivet City Red Zone for the past 2 years has been our staple location of doing a show. And when the NFL season ended this past year, right after the Eagles and Chiefs game, me and John made the decision that, we would go and take things out on the road on our own and do the independent thing. And now the Huddle podcast is a standalone thing. Am I still part of Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media? Yes. As you know, some of you watch on the Off the Top Media YouTube channel. I have a show on Monday nights called The Table Spot. We do a Raw watch along. So we watch Monday Night Raw from 8 p.m. until the show's over. And then me and Cam do The Table Spot. We talk about the show after the show. And then on Wednesday nights, I'm part of The Boom, which is hosted by Cam. And we talk about AEW Dynamite. So this isn't the only show that I'm a part of. If you only watch the Huddle Hub podcast, this isn't the only show I'm a part of. Go over to Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media's Twitch and YouTube channels. Follow them. You can find me there for The Boom and The Table Spot. So, this podcasting journey started back in 2019 for me. Now, you're thinking, Mike, you did East First West. Yeah, but it really wasn't a podcast. It was just a pick show that we did on Facebook. The podcasting journey for me started back in 2019, where I had a podcast called Drop the Mic. And you're thinking, Drop the Mic, Mike, what are you talking about? Well, because I'm a huge concert buff. I love going to shows. I love music. So I wanted to talk about music, and I wanted to talk about shows that I went to. So I started a podcast called Drop the Mic. And then I had a wrestling podcast called Wrestling City. And so the podcasting journey started back in 2019 and been going pretty much strong ever since, trying to build things up, build my personal brand, as well as trying to help others that I co-host with build their brands. And, got to show that support, got to show the love. And those of you who come here in the early stages of the Huddle Hub podcast, definitely appreciate you stopping by and checking out the show, whether it's recorded, whether you're here on live. Definitely appreciate you stopping by, and we hope that you continue joining us for this journey to get the Huddle Up podcast to where maybe one day we're on Radio Row for the Super Bowl. Maybe we're on Radio Row for the draft. We'd like to get there one day, and we know that's going to be a lot of work to get there, and we're definitely willing to put that work in. So much appreciated to you guys that are here on the early stages, and definitely looking forward to continuing this journey and building the Huddle Hub podcast. So I'm sorry I got into a little bit of a tangent there, but I figured this segment wasn't going to be long, give you guys a little history lesson. And now to give you guys the first 3 games that we're going to be doing watch-alongs for. Okay, so game number 1 that we will be doing a watch-along for is game number 1. of the 2025 NFL season. We are going to be doing a watch along for the Eagles and the Cowboys week 1 on September 4th, Thursday Night Football. The Eagles will be dropping the Super Bowl banner, and what a way to kick off the season for watch-alongs than to watching the kickoff to the NFL season. So game number 1 will be the Eagles and the Cowboys in week 1 for the NFL kickoff. Game number 2 will also be happening in week 1, and that is, yes, we talked about this game a little bit ago, about the Aaron Rodgers thing, the Jets and the Steelers in week 1 on September 7th. So we will be here for Thursday Night Football, and we will be here for a Thursday or a Sunday afternoon game for the Jets and the Steelers. And then our third game that we have announced here will be in week 2 at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Super Bowl 59 matchup between the Eagles and the Chiefs, on September 14th. So again, Eagles, Cowboys, week 1 on September 4th. Jets and Steelers in week 1 on September 7th. And then Eagles and Chiefs in week 2 on September 14th. Those are the first 3 games announced for the watch-alongs. So yeah, we're going to have more. We are definitely going to have more. Is it going to be a weekly thing? Don't know yet. It might be. It might not be. Because, I'm going to want to enjoy some football on my own as well. Same with John. But we are definitely going to be doing a handful of watch-alongs at least this year. So, or at least a dozen. And a dozen's 12. So we are going to be doing a significant amount of watch-alongs this year for the Huddle Hub Podcast as we build things here. So, but those are the first 3 games for the Huddle Hub Podcast watch-along. But that's all I got for you guys. If you want to follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch, MetalBike714. The new season of Fortnite started, so do I plan on doing some TikTok streams and stuff like that? Yeah, I do. I want to get used to the game for at least the next week or 2, and then we'll start doing some TikTok streams for Fortnite. So, MetalBike714 is where you can follow me personally, because I do make announcements for shows and everything on my personal social medias. So, go ahead and follow MetalMike714 over on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. As far as the Huddle Hub Podcast, again, you can follow us on all the socials on TikTok, X, and YouTube. X and TikTok, you're going to hit the follow button. On YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button at the Huddle Hub Pod. And if you're following here on the Twitch channel, on the bottom, the link, all the links to the social medias are on the bottom. You just click on those and we'll take you right to the social medias. So definitely appreciate everybody who checked out the live today, swung by and just clicked on us and checked us out for a minute or 2. And if you stuck around throughout the whole show, definitely appreciate it. And then those who watch the recording, appreciate you checking out the recording. As I always say, be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until next Sunday, my name is Metal Mike for the Huddle Hub Podcast. Everybody have a great day, have a great week, and we will see y'all next Sunday. Deuces.